We have an amazing episode for you today, but first I want to tell you about Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. Whether it's recording new podcast episodes, uploading existing episodes, editing, or more, Anchor gives you everything you need in one place to create your podcast from your computer or your phone and make it sound amazing. And the best part, it's free. Yes, Anchor is completely free. Anchor makes it easy to make money with a podcast without a minimum listenership, and will even distribute your podcast so it can be heard anywhere from Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and more. The podcast process has been so easy because of Anchor, and I couldn't have asked for a better experience right off the bat. I'm recommending Anchor to all of my listeners who are wanting to start a podcast. Be sure to download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started building your own podcast today. My name is Kristen Kubik, and you're listening to As Told Unfiltered, the podcast that dives deep into what it's really like running a business. The raw, the real, and the completely unfiltered. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of As Told Unfiltered. I'm your host, Kristen Kubik. Now, we're kind of getting, a little more serious this episode. This episode, it kind of hits home for not only me, but a lot of people I've talked to, a lot of other entrepreneurs, a lot of people who even just work from home, even if you're not an entrepreneur. So I thought this was kind of important to do an episode about. I'm actually going to talk about today why it's really hard to make or keep friends as an entrepreneur and this one, like I said, it hits home. You know what I mean? As an adult, I feel like it's really hard for us to make friends anyway. And I don't know what the deal is. Like, at what point did it stop becoming easy to make friends? Like, do you remember how easy it was to just walk into class and say hi to the person who you sat next to? And then by the end of, the first week, you guys were best friends and you were planning a sleepover. Was it just me? Tell me it wasn't just me, guys. Seriously. But I mean, really. This is how we did so much of our lives. College, we're roommates. My roommate from freshman year and I are still best friends. And it's been, I think, 12 years at this point? 11 years, yeah. 11 years at this point. I mean, it was just so easy. But then you start, your entrepreneur journey. And a lot of people they don't understand it. And they think, they might think you're crazy, or they have all of these thoughts about, what you should be doing or what you could be doing. Or I used to have someone who knew that I worked for myself and knew that I worked from home, who would still send me job applications every time she came across one. And I don't, think she did it maliciously or anything. It's just, she did it, and, it rubs you the wrong way, and, it's one of those things, and people don't understand what you're doing, and that alone gets really lonely. So it's definitely something, I wanted to talk about, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way. And from talking to other people, I'm positive I'm not the only one who feels this way. So here's the thing. It's not even just the people around us who don't understand what we're doing. It's not even just the people around us that we have a hard time connecting with. It's not even just the people around us that we have a hard time talking to, a hard time, expressing our thoughts to, a hard time really, celebrating our wins to, getting our excitement out to, talking about what we're working on next to, things like that. It's also other entrepreneurs. It's really hard, from what I've noticed and what I've really, experienced, for entrepreneurs to stay friends with other entrepreneurs. And here's, really what I've experienced as to why. A lot of us as entrepreneurs, as people who work from home, as I'll even put in direct sales or network marketing people in there because I've also noticed they go through a lot of the same thing. We tend to compare ourselves to other people like us. We tend to compare ourselves, or it brings out that imposter syndrome. And it's something that a lot of people talk about. Some people say it doesn't exist. I disagree. I think when you start filling your head with all of these anxieties and, thoughts and other people's stuff, then you're absolutely going to question yourself at some point in time. And I disagree with anyone who says that's not possible. I disagree that even the most confident person in the world is not going to have one of those days at some point in their life. And we often tend to do that when we're surrounded by all of these amazing people with amazing ideas, and they're bringing in clients and they're bringing in money, and, their businesses are expanding and growing and all of these things. It, in a way, does trigger you. And I'm not a person to really use, the phrase triggering, honestly. But, it really does, in a way, trigger you. So we often really have a hard time comparing ourselves. And that's problem number one, honestly. But then problem number two is the comparison often drives jealousy. So we often get jealous of those people who are bringing in all of these great things. The new cars, the exotic traveling, the new furniture that they bought for their house, the new dog that they just brought home. All of these things, from the biggest things down to the smallest things, you start to really pick apart what you don't like and what you really wish you had because that person has it. But then it becomes a projection onto them of what you wish you had. And that's not necessarily fair to the other person. And that's another really big reason why a lot of entrepreneurs can't stay friends with entrepreneurs. And I went through this recently with, I was friends with somebody, really, really close friends. Let me, really put it that way. And I was, for my 30th birthday, gifted a new car. I did put money into it, but, overall gifted a new vehicle for my birthday. And the amount of jealousy and anger at me for something that wasn't even in, my control was astounding. I was baffled. But it eventually led to our friendship diminishing. And now I see, that's okay. It happens. I've very rarely kept a friend that's an entrepreneur. I have, a few friends that I've kept long term, but very rarely have I been able to keep an entrepreneur friend that I haven't worked with or that I rarely work with. Because a lot, and this kind of goes into a third option, is if you're not paying them, you're not their friend. And that's something I learned earlier last year. Probably all through last year. And I watched it happen to a lot of people, to where if you weren't paying somebody, they were not your friend. And that's just, it's something I personally can't get behind. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things to where if that's the only way, you want me to be your friend, I'm not going to do that. But also, it's this mentality where a lot of people feel like you have to support them. And you have to spend money with them, and that's the only way to support them. You have to help me pay my bills in order to support me. Whereas, showing support on social media posts and sharing your post and doing all of these other things, recommending to friends, other friends that you think could really help, helping you grow, your group, your profile, whatever else, even helping, with sometimes free advice, which I am so notorious at, and I really need to stop if I'm being honest. But it's all of these things are such great ways to help support people. It doesn't always have to be monetary. And that's a lot of what some people think And it's honestly a really big reason why entrepreneurs have a hard time keeping friends that are entrepreneurs, because we just want the support. And I absolutely understand wanting the support. I couldn't do this if I didn't have the support. If I didn't have a longtime friend of mine who checks in on me weekly, and I try my best to check in on her weekly. If we didn't have that support, have someone send you a message saying, I'm grateful for your friendship. I'm grateful for your help. I'm grateful for you, looking at this sales page for me. That type of friendship is what we're all looking for. We're all looking for someone who is just wanting us for us, not for what we do, not for who we are as a business owner, but as a person. And a lot of this is really what we have to start talking about, because it's hard being a business owner already. Why are we making it harder on ourselves when it comes to looking for that extra support, looking for friends, looking for someone to just shoot the shit with on a Tuesday night or a Thursday morning in between calls? At what point do we start taking responsibility for what we're projecting onto other people and really rein it in and work on it, be mindful of what we're doing, what we're saying, and how we're looking at not only ourselves, but at other people, and then how we're perceived by others. Because these are all really great things, and we could form so many friendships. There's this big wish for a sisterhood or a brotherhood in, the entrepreneur space. And it's really hard to find because we have so many other different agendas going on. But what if we didn't? What if we just became normal? Is that even possible? What if we just shot the shit on a Thursday morning in between our calls without any hidden agenda? What if, you were able to keep some friends long term because none of you expected anything more than friendship out of each other, and you were able to share your wins, share your excitements, share your losses? That's another big one that we really have a hard time with, is talking about our losses, our failures, what we're learning from our failures, what's not working. And if we're entrepreneurs, that's something we really have to be able to talk about. It's something I'm really becoming so comfortable talking about, because right now, in general, like in my personal life, I'm having a lot of losses, but I'm also having a lot of wins. You have to be able to balance them both, because that's how life works. So this episode, it's just kind of something, I guess, to think about, because at the end of the day, making friends is really hard as an adult in general, but then we're making it so much harder on ourselves, and I just don't understand why. And no one's talking about it. A lot of us have this, fake persona that it's easy to make friends and we're friendly with everybody. And that's not the truth. We are half-assing it, and that's not what we want. That's not what people want from us. I am notorious for half-assing it in the friendship level to other entrepreneurs 99% of the time. And I will so take responsibility for that, because I have so much going on in so many other spaces that I really do need to work on it, because there are really great people out there. I'm also a really great person. It's just that I need to figure out, priorities and how to make friends again. So I hope this kind of gives everyone something to think about. It definitely gives me something to think about. I was kind of journaling on it. This is kind of where this came up. And it's really been something I've kind of sat on for a little while, actually. And I really wanted to kind of bring it to light, but also bring it to a good place to where we're mindful of what we're doing. And that's the goal. So thank you for listening to another episode of As Told Unfiltered. and I will see you guys next time. You've just finished another episode of As Told Unfiltered. High five! If you enjoy the podcast, please rate 5 stars on Apple Podcast. You can also find out more about anything you heard today on my website, kristenkubic.com/astoldunfiltered, including my membership. In my membership, you get 10% off all courses, monthly masterclasses, and even a group coaching Q&A session with me, where you get to ask me anything and everything about your business, all for an insanely affordable price. Check it out at patreon.com/astoldunfiltered, and I'll see you on the inside.